Good Saturday morning of the second week. This is the shortest gospel. It's only 2 lines. but I want to share it with you. It's going to make me laugh, okay? I'll give you a story with it, okay? I hope I'm not wasting your time these mornings. Just reflecting with you, just as it were, taking a walk. Just chatting on a walk. I'm not trying to preach to you. I'm not doing anything, just sharing my thoughts. The good news is you can shut it off anytime you want. Anyway, Jesus came with his disciples into the house. Again, the crowd gathered, making it impossible for them even to eat. Sounds like me. No, it's not. Now, when his relatives, this is a great line, when his relatives heard of this, they set out to seize him. But they said he's out of his mind. They thought Christ was out of his mind. He's out of his mind. When his relatives heard of this, they set out to seize him. But they said he's out of his mind. That's neat, isn't it? The humility of that situation. This is the Son of God who created the world, created the universe. He's out of his mind. Why I'm making it something of a humorous moment, and then I'll leave you alone, okay? Is that back when I was in the 7th or 8th grade, I told my Aunt Anita that I thought about becoming a priest because I felt called. It was around the 8th grade. Yeah, I'm sure it was because I thought I better go to a Catholic school now. My brother was at Notre Dame High, and it was indifferent to it. But after this sense of calling, I felt I better go to a Catholic school. It's the truth. I went to Mass every day, but that didn't mean anything. I got to go to Catholic school. That is the truth. It's the truth. Anyway, I told my Aunt Anita, Zia Anita, that's how you say it in Italian, Zia, Z-I-A, Zia Anita. I told Zia Anita that I thought I was going to go ahead and become a priest. Well, Aunt Anita, Zia Anita, tells my mother. I wasn't going to tell my mother or father. And my mother's response is to what you heard in the gospel. She said, he's nuts. That's the point. He's nuts. I'm grateful for that line. He's nuts. And the reason for it is this, the calling that I felt came softly from, in a sense, it came softly from a stranger. I wasn't pushed into religious life or pushed into the priesthood as I saw so many fellow Passionists were by the parents. They were pushed into it. They were talked into it. They were pushed into it. I wasn't. Just the opposite. My mother, he's nuts. My father thought, well, that's not a bad idea because he saw how many priests ate in the swanky restaurant where he was a waiter. He thought I'd make a killing. My father saw it as a business proposition. We'll make a killing. We'll make a fortune. You got to know it. My parents were not pious. My mother was realistic, and my father he had waited on priests in this swanky Tivoli restaurant. I mean, swanky, okay? It was a first AAA, rated #1 in New England. Think about it. Think about it. That was that good. 120 priests a week ate there. Most of the time they got a free meal. Somebody picked up the tab. So my father figured, gee, let's get in on that. Okay, get in on the racket. He saw it as a racket. And I saw it as a necessity. I felt called and I got to do it. Didn't want to do it, but I got to do it. So even when I was dating then, God, I loved all the girls I dated, but they didn't love me. I think it was divine providence, or else whatever. But whatever it was, I kept striking out. Almost not 100%, but it wasn't. Leave it at that. Anyway, the last thing I think, I've got to be a priest, but who the hell wants to be a religious? I didn't want to give up my shotgun. I told you that. I didn't want to give up my shotgun and my fly rod and my surf casting rod. What, are you kidding me? Forget about it. Then I made a stupid thing. I made a retreat in Hartford. The Passionists. I didn't know who the hell they were. But I was overwhelmed by their masculinity and the beauty of their masculinity. I didn't know who they were, but I asked Father Joe Leo, who they were. He said, they're Passionists. I said, I'll join you. That's the truth. I felt called by not what they said, but who they were. See? calling's funny. You think about, I don't know what to say. You think about how you were called into your marriage, and that first crucial date when you went from just noticing each other with some degree of respect and affection, nice kid, to seeing him or her and in falling in love. All of a sudden you go from seeing to seeing. Am I right? It's like the monks coming across with their sandals and their woolen habits and leather belt and everything I didn't want. They had in spades. They didn't have a little of that at all. They slept on wooden planks with straw mattresses. What, are you kidding me? In for a dime, in for a dollar. You think about when you were dating. If you're married, you're dating before you got married. What turned it around when you went from a casual relationship, a date, to all of a sudden seeing him or her in a way that is compelling? Am I right? My friend Sarah, she was very, very bright. She still is very bright. And she was just battling me on almost every front in school and everything I was teaching. And then she challenged me, okay? I said, boy, I got to take care of this kid. This kid's smart. This kid is tough. And not smart alone, but tough and smart. And I remember one day in the dated that way, it was 15 years ago, it radically changed everything. I had seen her every 2 days, class, keep going. But now we're walking in the corridor, and I had to break the ice. And I said, Sarah, what's your major? And she said to me, theology. And you got to remember, she was arguing atheistic causes, atheistic positions. She had become an atheist, or at least an agnostic, and she said theology. And I looked at her and I held her by her arms and I said, what did we do to you? Meaning, how do we drive you away from the faith? How did the church do this to you? Not the university. How did we do this to you? She started to cry. And I said to her then, the second thing I said to her, do you know how beautiful you are? She said, if you say so. I said, I say so. She went from just a girl, a woman, to a beautiful woman of grace and beauty and elegance and tears, crying her heart out. She's beautiful. That's when you go from looking at and noticing to seeing. To seeing. We've been friends ever since. Wonderful friends and her family and everything else. She's very, very special to me. Yeah. I think I got closer to students that disagreed with me because I had to pay more attention to them. They would say, oh, this guy's challenging the hell out of me, But then I don't forget them. And I find myself being taught by their objections. Do you hear that? I'm being taught by their objections. Out of the conflict of the ideas, I learned what I was supposed to be teaching. I was learning it by them and through them, because of them. That was the truth. Took nothing for granted. I don't know why I got onto this, but whatever. It's a Saturday and a very short reading. Was it 2 lines? I hope I shared something worth listening to. When you think of your own life, especially if you're married, when did you see your partner? When? And think of Barbra Streisand, and nothing was the same. That's the calling. That's the calling. It could be a remark. It could be a person. It could be the tears in a beautiful young woman's eyes. It can be the flinching of a man. I can think of the guys in class that, I forgot one of the fellows, he just gave me a hard time, such a hard time. The hard time he gave me, the more I loved the guy. He was terrific. He kept me honest. I told him that, don't go away. Don't go away. You're keeping me honest. You begin to see, not look at, not notice. You begin to see them. When did you start seeing your spouse? It's a good question, isn't it? What difference did it make? The difference in the world, right? The difference in the world. You have a good day, a good Saturday, a good weekend for all of you. With blessings and love.